Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All right, guys, welcome back to the Manly Mission Podcast. This is episode 16 with your host, Farhan Rana. Hope you guys are doing well. It's probably Wednesday by the time you're listening to this or when it goes live. So it's midweek. Hope you guys are doing well and hope you guys are crushing it. All right, so we're going to be talking about manhood, how to reclaim it, and what you need to do. I'm going to give you some really actionable, some very logical advice on this topic. But before we get started, like I do every time, I want to give you my free 7-day workout plan, and you can grab that at farhanrana.com/workout. It gives you the workouts, it gives you downloadable links to this one app. You can just use that to while you're at the gym. Advice on dieting, on supplements, on recovery, all that kind of stuff. It's in one all-in-one package in terms of what you need to know. I think you guys are going to find a lot of value in that. So definitely go there, download it, and use it, and you'll thank me later. All right, so when it comes to reclaiming your manhood, I think the first thing we need to kind of address is why do we need to reclaim manhood in the first place? Like, why does this have to be our starting point? And it's no surprise to anyone that we live in a time, in an era, in a society that does not value men. Not in the sense, at least not in the sense in which like we were valued and respected previously in the past. Excuse me. Um, in terms of like what we provide in terms of value to our families, to our tribes, to our communities. And there was a sense of like men have this very essential and important role. But now it's just really, sorry guys, I've just been recording like back to back episodes. So you'll have to excuse me for having a bit of whatever. um, what's occurring now is that there's this sense of like if you're a traditional man or if you display those kind of qualities, that there's something wrong with you, like you're not with the times, you need to get with the current whatever's going on in terms of like societal trends, or like it's just not valued anymore. It's like you're a dangerous person if you're that kind of person. And there is, at least on the dangerous part, there is some truth to that you do need to be kind of dangerous. But I'm going to be talking about that later. My point with all of this is saying that there's a lot of pressure on guys who have even like an ounce of masculinity in them to conform to what's currently going on. And this is not like a huge conspiracy theory or anything. This is just like how guys live. You walk down the street, you go to the market or whatever. Your average guy is gonna be skinny fat, is gonna be someone who does not have a strong voice, someone who is looking down, probably has their hands in their pockets or something. I see this a lot when I'm at my college campus. So I'm doing like this graduate program, and I see this so much. And it's just really sad to see, man. Like there was this one time where I was walking past this one guy. I was going to my class. This one guy, he was probably like 6'2", kind of lanky. If you're watching that, you probably don't know who you are, but like I'm just like kind of describing who this guy is. Lanky, 6'2", maybe 3-ish, had a hood on, hands in his pocket, and just looking down. And I was just like, I almost wanted to just get in his way and just be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, if you're going through something in life, I understand, but still, man, you're supposed to keep your head up and just like keep going, like have this positive outlook on your life. And I'm sure, I mean, there's like a whole host of like probably destructive habits that he's engaged in. Like, that's just what happens when you don't have this sense of like purpose and drive and this like this energy. It's this energy that motivates you and animates you to do something in your life. If you don't have that, I mean, that's what I saw was like the natural outcome. You're just like this shell of a person, this shell of a man. And it was just like really sad to see. And I've seen that more than once, but that instance stood out to me because and the reason I mentioned his height is because he could really take advantage of that. You know how, like some women are like, oh, I need someone like 6 foot above and all this kind of stuff. It's like BS. If someone really wanted to capitalize on their height, I mean, this guy was a perfect candidate for that. Just get in the gym, get some muscle mass, look confident, dress well, keep your hands out of your damn pockets. I shouldn't be swearing, but it's just like, man, come on. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, honestly, if he was someone I knew, I would have just gotten in his way and be like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, don't do this to yourself. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what the masculinity, manhood, it's just been kind of just sapped out of us. And we don't believe we're the kind of people, or we're the kind of guys that our forefathers used to be, who were strong leaders in their own communities and did valuable things, and there were these kind of people. um, so, and obviously I was a victim of this too. I'm not trying to be like the paragon of masculinity. I'm clearly not that. I'm on this journey with you guys, but I'm just trying to say, like, there's a lot that's going against this kind of thing, and for us to really reclaim that, there is a need to reclaim this, because, like, if we're not going to do it, no one else is telling us to do it. Maybe not people on, maybe not even people in our own families, or the friends around us, or the company we keep. They're probably not going to be telling us like, hey, you need to, reclaim your masculinity. No one's even going to like know this term. They'll be like, what are you trying to do? um, so yeah, just really understand that it's your personal responsibility to look at your life and be like, am I living just like a shell? Am I living in this bubble? If I am I doing destructive habits which have no benefit to me, and it's just like pleasure, and I'm distracted, and I'm not living with this like grand purpose in life, something I want to achieve, then you're probably, you need to really listen to what I'm going to say. So the first tip, there's going to be three things I'm going to tell you guys. The first thing I want you guys to understand is that step one of reclaiming your manhood is doing what you say you're going to do. Like being authentic, being genuine, being someone who is trustworthy. And this doesn't have to be to anyone else. Like, this just has to be with yourself, first and foremost. If you get this, like, crazy idea, you're awake one night and you're just like, yeah, I really want to just put on like a good amount of muscle. I want to get strong. I want to have, this amazing career or this business, and you just like feel inspired one time, and maybe you even get like a pen and paper out, and you're just like writing down what you're going to do, and then you kind of just don't really act on that. That's you like not living up to your fullest potential. That's you not doing what you said you would do. And you might be like, oh, I just wrote that down just to have it down. But I mean, like, come on. If you've done that kind of thing, if you've been inspired and you've kind of thought of like, what can I do in my life? I mean, why would you not take action on those goals that you have set in front of you? And I did say this, talking about how to get stronger in episode 14. It was this idea of like, you just need, I think it was just 15. I'm just getting all my episodes messed up, but it was this, you need to operate on the notion of when, not if. Like, you just need to have this almost like unrealistic sense of like conviction and self-belief that I can do this, and you just need to act on it. And you don't need to take like grand steps or like, do anything crazy. Just start with what you can do and just right in front of you. If you're starting from a position of like where you haven't made any significant progress in your life, just start from ground zero. Start from like where you are currently. Build up from there. But don't make plans. I mean, just imagine if you did this with someone else. If you told someone else like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing for you. I'm gonna help you move like next week or something, and next weekend comes and you completely bail out on them, and then the friend hits you up and it's like, hey, you told me like you'd help me move out, and you're just like, oh, like, that was just me kind of thinking out loud, or like I didn't think you'd take it that seriously. Like, that's just you being a jerk, bro. Like, that's what you're doing with yourself, man. If you're not living up to your promises, you're being a jerk to yourself. Like, so the first step with all of this is reclaiming your manhood. I mean, it sounds like such a grand idea, and like we think we're gonna be like jacked warriors or something. It's If you don't say what you're gonna do, I mean, that's what you need to do. That's the first step in all of this, man. So really focus on that. Think about what I just said there. Really take it to heart and look at your own life and say, have I made promises to myself? Have I said things, I said I'll do, but I haven't done them? Really have that sense of honesty and just this, have some measure of self respect and introspection. Look at your life and start making positive steps in that direction. Number two, and I know a lot of guys will like this. They'll be like, yeah, get strong and jacked. I mean, it's just like goes without saying that when you imagine like a strong man, you imagine someone who's like physically strong too. And I've made like tons of video, like not tons, but like I made a couple of episodes talking about how to get strong. Like I put out like this whole like 40-minute guide on the exact steps I'm gonna take and what you need to be doing in terms of the different stages. But what I'm gonna be talking about now is really just a mindset of why this matters in the first place. Like someone could make the point and they wouldn't be entirely wrong. They could be like, well, in this current age, we don't need exactly to be strong or jacked or have like crazy amounts of muscle or anything, because we don't live in an environment where our lives are being threatened physically on a daily basis, or we're not in regular confrontation with opposing tribes or anything like that. I mean, if you do live in that kind of situation, um, my heart goes out to you. I hope you have a sense of safety and security very soon. Um, and I'm really honored that you're even listening to me if you're in that kind of situation. And I hope that whatever I'm saying is of some help to you. But I'm speaking mostly to guys who live in more or less a safe situation where we don't need to worry about our lives on a daily basis. So someone could they could make the point like why like you don't need to be strong. Like you could just be average. You don't need to worry about being. I mean, go to the gym, whatever, but you don't need to be like super jacked or anything. And my I'll I want to counter that point because who we are physically is gonna translate into who we are spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's just the kind of essence, it's the core of like where everything starts from. And the core of that core is gonna be our testosterone. It's gonna be this like natural kind of drive that we have to achieve things and to become the kind of men that we want to be. So not being strong, not being jacked, I mean, it does affect you on a physical level too, in terms of like you don't feel like you have that kind of energy, that kind of drive, that kind of ambition in life. And it just affects every other area of your life. Mentally, you're not as sharp. You don't have, and you don't have that that kind of self belief in terms of like I can achieve something physically in terms of my body. I can then do amazing things in my life. So it affects you mentally. Emotionally, I mean, you just feel down. You don't have the kind of um, that pump, where that high that you get after your pump. You feel good after you've hit like a solid workout. You don't feel mentally stable. I shouldn't say mentally stable, but you don't feel good regularly if you don't go into the gym and have like a solid workout routine. And then spiritually, I mean, when you think of like someone who is calm and stable, has a good connection with God, you don't imagine someone who's weak and frail and just worried about, um, like, you don't imagine a weak person. You imagine someone who's like strong, who has that kind of stability in their life, and they practice their spirituality from a place of strength, not from a place of like weakness. And I know these are like opposing ideas. Like you might be thinking like, oh, spirituality is all about like humbling yourself and being devoted to God, and yes, that's true. But wouldn't you rather be the person who is a strong person, who can defend himself, who can do all of these things physically, and also be someone who's devoted and humble and grateful and all these kind of things, right? So the point I'm trying to make with all this is that being strong and jacked, it only serves you. It doesn't distract from your life. And we're not even talking about like martial arts or anything, but and I'm not even going to go there. It's like just having this sense of control and this sense of autonomy in terms of like your own physical being. That's very important because when we talk about reclaiming your manhood, there's even like these like stupid articles which tell you like, hey, like you shouldn't work out, like it's toxic to work out or something. It's just so stupid. Um, don't take that advice if you have read those articles and you were like, oh, maybe no, don't do it. Get your behind in the gym, make some progress, and you're gonna thank me later. All right, number three, and This is a really important point, and I do want to spend some time here. Find and or build a community of like-minded guys. I do remember talking about this in a previous episode, but I want to bring this up again, that male friendships and male companionship is something that a lot of guys lack. Part of the problem that we deal with in terms of like feeling lonely and feeling detached and feeling like we don't have a place in society is it comes from this place of not having guys around us who uplift us, who are doing great things in their own lives, and people we can draw inspiration from and look up to, and even feel like a little bit of like, they're doing so great, why can't I do that? Having this sense of like, um, I want to call it like virtuous jealousy, even though that probably doesn't make any sense. But the sense of like he's doing so great in his life, I need to kind of emulate that or go about it in my own way. Um, and it's really lacking for a lot of guys. That's why a lot of us we turn to like these online communities, we turn to YouTube, we turn to Reddit, Discord, we turn to all these places because we're looking for that, but we don't find that in our physical immediate environment. And I kind of want to create that. I do have, alhamdulillah, I do have a good amount of friends who I can consider guys who are like-minded and who are doing great things in their life. But I understand that for a lot of people, a lot of guys, maybe even Muslim guys, like you don't have that in your life. Maybe you're like 18, 19, 20, and you just have no one in your life who's someone who's Muslim, someone who's practicing, someone, and I'm not saying I'm that kind of person, but I'm just saying like I'm striving to become that. Someone who likes fitness, someone who's like obsessed about success, all this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to build that community, and it's really just to be that kind of person for someone else. And what I started with is like find and or build a community, and in most cases like you'll be really fortunate if you find a community like that, if you go to school, if you are in a community where like you have that kind of group of guys who are doing something. That's really rare to find nowadays. A, because a lot of guys are not like that, and B, even if they are, it's just the nature of the way we live in terms of like our housing, in terms of where we live and how we go about work and all this kind of stuff. It's really hard to get that physically. Even for me, like a lot of my friends, like we all live in different places. It's really rare for us to get together. Um, so in most cases, it'll be finding an online community, which is like, I mean, it's good because it gives you that sense, that brotherhood that you were looking for, and then you can build off of that in terms of like meeting up in person or whatever the case may be. Or if you're someone who's just like so fed up they just don't have anything, you build your own community. And a part of like manhood is just like understanding that sometimes things are not going to be in place the way you want them to be. So you need to build them. You need to like just make it happen. Like for me, when I started this episode, or this podcast, I should say, like no one else in my immediate environment. Maybe there's one person who's doing something similar to what I'm doing, and they're probably not even doing it at the level I'm doing it at, or like have the same kind of focus. So it's really just me who's crazy enough to like start this like YouTube channel and this podcast. Um, and I was just like, I can't wait on someone else to come along and be like, for me to draw inspiration from them. I mean, I've drawn inspiration from other YouTube content creators and other business people and people I look up to. So that's there. But in terms of like my physical environment or my immediate surroundings and my immediate community, there's no one really who's doing this. So I was just like, let me just create this and let me be that kind of person to others and be that kind of big brother to to guys who didn't have someone in their life telling them um, what you need to do and how to go about life and how you have this manly mission that you need to embark on. So those are my three tips. And if you listen to this and you were like, well, that was really basic, like that's you didn't need to tell me to do that, like reclaiming your manhood. I thought you'd tell me like grand things. Like, no, it starts very basic. Like, if you can do these three things, I mean, you're like, I would consider you to be like a really good man. And I'm not saying this just to make you feel good. It's just like if you have all of these three things, if you're someone trustworthy with your word, you're strong and jacked, and you're building a community of guys around you, like you're gonna have my respect. Like no doubt about it. And that's what it takes. That's like the bar is so low in terms of like what guys need to be doing. And what I just mentioned, the bar like it's not like super low, but it's not like super high achievable. Like we're doing great things in life, or like we're creating like this movement or whatever. This is like really like in my opinion, it's very basic. So if you can do this and you can make sustainable progress towards this, like you're doing great in life. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna leave it right there. I think I gave you a lot of food for thought in terms of like when you think about your manhood, when you think about masculinity, what should you focus on practically doing? Because I don't want us to get into this space where like we have like these theoretical or philosophical discussions about this, but we don't take any action. I would rather someone get there, get in the gym, get strong, and not really worry about this too much because in the process, like they'll become a man worthy of respect because they'll be disciplined, they'll be saying what they're gonna do. They'll be obviously in the gym, and they'll be around a group of guys who are in the gym, and they'll probably build a community around them, and they'll like do things with them. I would rather you do that than like have like these long drawn out discussions about like oh like the state of manhood and like men are weak and all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a time and place for that, but honestly, like I want you guys to be action oriented versus just talking and not really making anything happen in your life because that's another sign of like being weak. A weak man is like you just talk about this kind of stuff. That's I mean, like it's bad enough that we don't talk about it, but when we do talk about it, it's just theorizing, and we don't really take any action on it. So I don't want you guys to do that. Take action on what I'm telling you guys to do, and you'll start seeing great results in your life. And then my ultimate hope is for you guys to inspire others. Like if you feel like you need inspiration from me, I'm really grateful for that. But I really want you get to a point where you're inspiring other people, where you're creating your own podcast, your own YouTube, or even just doing this physically in your own community, where you're inspiring guys to become better, to become better versions of themselves. And that's my ultimate hope for you guys. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up right there. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I welcome your feedback, your comments, your support. So do make sure you subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff on YouTube. If you're listening to this on podcast, leave me your honest rating, things where I can improve, and I'll definitely take all of that into consideration going forward. And just want to thank you guys so much for all of your support. We're at episode 16, and I really do mean this. Like when I started, like the first week of January this year, like I didn't expect to have this amount of support and just for me to experience this amount of personal growth when it comes to all of this. So it just goes to show like if you want to make something happen in your life, if you want to really leave your mark, you just need to get started. You just need to get started, figure out things on the way, and you'll get there, inshallah, and you'll have an amazing life at the end of this. It'll come with its own challenges, but it'll be a great life once you take control and you reclaim your manhood, like I've been saying this whole time. So thank you so much, guys. This was episode 16 of the Manly Mission Podcast with your host, Farhan Rana. Until we meet next time, take care. Signing out.